Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Matt.
I guess we're Shade
Shade
Tree
Tree
Chefs. Okay.
All right.
Well,
So maybe we should talk about food.
well, yeah. What are we talking about this week, man?
What are we talking about this week?
I don't know, man.
Well, so all right. So this week,
What about this week?
what about this week? So funny story.
Funny story. All
Funny
right.
story.
Funny story.
So
I don't think it's funny.
no. Jamie says nobody cares, right? But this is just how it kind of happened. I'm sitting there at home, kind of working through a honey-do list from the wife, and
honeydew, yeah, because you work on that all the time, right?
no, I try not to.
Okay.
Oh, honestly,
Okay.
it's like if she mentions things like, okay, this is going to sidetrack even more.
Yeah.
So when I take time off,
Hold on. I still have my sad voice. Hold on.
oh,
Let me-
all right, get out of that.
La 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 la
La la la.
All right.
So
Happy now.
when I took some time off of work, she'd always say, "Oh, while you're off, you could do this, 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 and this." So it turned into if I knew she had a day off, I would start doing the same.
Yeah.
Like, hey, while you're off, you could do this, this, this. And then next thing you know, I'd get home from work. She's like, oh, no, I didn't work today. Now, she works from home. She's like, well, I had the day off. So you didn't tell me that. Well, every time I tell you that I took a day off, you always give me a list of things to do. I said, now you know how I feel.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
But you love her, and she's the best.
Of course,
ever.
she's
Yeah.
you are the best thing that has ever
You wouldn't
happened
be
to
where
me.
you are today if it wasn't for her.
Yes. All right. So, getting back to it in all seriousness.
Let's circle
So,
back.
like
Like,
it- like-
very, very sad about
Like, like I said, Jamie said nobody cares. Not
Nobody
a typical
cares.
day where it wasn't planned. I was like, we have to start thinking about it. He's like, hey, let's record today. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna kind of. How do I bring this up to her where she doesn't yell because we got a few things going on at the house. And then she's like, yeah, go ahead, whatever. So I come over to your place, right?
Yeah, you're here.
And then it's like, well, what are we gonna cook? It's like, what ideas do you
Well, I
have?
gave you a couple ideas, and they might have been a little far-fetched. We're not going to say them right now, but
Right. It was one of those like, is this stuff available? Like, what's the availability? How many stores are we going to have to go to?
and here we
To
are.
get
Yeah,
this.
mid to late April. So some of the
Right.
stuff we might not be able to get. So you came over, and I'm like, all right, well, option 2. Let's. I got this sweet book that I got last year called One Beer Grilling by Mike Lang,
And hold on. First off, I have to say, we definitely had more than one beer while grilling what the recipe we did do.
yes.
No offense to him,
No, right.
but it took more than one beer.
No, for sure. We killed that 12-pack, I think.
Yeah.
Anyways, by Mike Lang, I think he's like a rep for Weber Grills. Maybe you'll see him on social media. He's the guy that's posting all the cool things on their website. Anyways, so today we looked through the book, and I try to have my son. I'm like, hey, open a page up in the book and pick something out. And he opened a page up to what
It
we're
was
gonna do in
seafood.
seafood.
It just was no recipe. Because
No
we actually tried this before. Opened a page, and it was something that was pretty much the bacon explosion or bacon bomb, except with an egg in it. I was like, all right, well, we just did that. And then I don't recall. Then I think you opened it, and it was something we recently did also.
I opened it, and it was like chicken. And
Right.
then last week we did chicken. You opened it, and it was, I don't know, something easy like burgers, something we did last year.
Yeah, we opened a few times.
Doesn't matter. Here we are today, flipped through the pages, and finally landed on our main course here, which is cheesy beer pit beef sandwiches.
Cheesy beer pit beef sandwiches.
Cheesy beer pit beef
But
sandwiches.
we said we're Shade Tree Chefs.
It's true.
We're going to do more than just a cheesy beer pit fire sandwich. Sorry, he switched the page on me here.
sorry.
We're actually looking at a book.
I have the book open, yeah.
All right.
And so we can't just have the sandwiches. What are we going
No.
to go? We're going to get chips, some
chips?
Lay's
I said, no, we can't do that.
That's boring. That's lame.
We settled on.
And we used the same book, and we finally found we're going to do grilled stuffed avocados.
Grilled stuffed avocados.
Avada Kedavra.
All right. So
Right.
I say we start, right? The grilled stuffed avocados was kind of like the side or appetizer,
Yes.
right? We didn't really start it before, and we ended up serving everything at once. But
Yes.
what did that all entail?
So the grilled stuffed avocados required They serve 4 people, so you need to get 2 avocados, cut them in half. But the ingredients are, let's see here, some sweet onions, green bell pepper, obviously the 2 avocados, as I just said, cumin, kosher salt, black pepper, and to top it all off, we put extra sharp cheddar cheese and sliced, and 2 slices of bacon, crumbled. So, Matt, do you want to talk about prep?
Sure.
And
So it's stated not to get like the very ripe. You want a little hardness to it, but where you can kind of a little squishy. If I want to go technical terms here, a little squishy.
Okay.
A little squishy, but not too squishy.
Okay.
So we half them, and then it actually had us put together like a rub.
Mm-hmm.
Right, which would have been our what is it?
That's the cumin, the kosher salt, and the black pepper.
Black peppers. Mix that up. We pitted it. Actually, came out quite easy. That was my first thought. I'm like, ooh, we're not trying to destroy these avocados because it doesn't tell us to, gut it out. I mean, you cut it, and we're gonna grill it in its skin or shell. I don't know what they call
shell, whatever you
I don't
want
know what they call it. So we do that. But then actually our timing, luckily we looked back at because we started the other thing. It's like, let's go back, see what we all need to do for our grilled stuffed avocados. And at that point it called for us to take what was it, a tablespoon of unsalted butter, and was it a tablespoon of virgin olive oil?
Extra virgin olive oil.
Right?
Yep.
And it had us slice. It called for a green pepper. You so happened to have a red pepper laying around.
I had a red and orange pepper from a recipe a couple days ago, and it's just dying in the fridge. And instead of just letting it go to waste, I said let's use red pepper.
So it called to slice them, and then pretty much cook them, reduce them for what did it say, about 25 minutes, 30 minutes.
Yep.
So it ended up where you kind of had the caramelized onion, and the pepper was soft. Go more into thoughts on all that later. So we get that done. Timing wise, we're kind of waiting for other things. So then we pan fry some bacon, right? Kind of let it cool down. Then we kind of chopped it up into small pieces.
Yep.
So
kind of like bacon bits.
Kind of like bacon bits. So the avocados are half pitted. We add our rub, which we've talked about.
Yep.
And then we filled the cavity. And we went a little bit over because why should only, about 3/4 of the avocado have filling?
Right.
So we put the onion dash, in our case, red pepper mixture on, and then topped it off with the bacon.
Yes.
And then it calls us to do what? Grill it for,
it says over here, over direct heat until they are soft, gently squeezed for 20 to 25 minutes.
Now, at that type of temperature, I don't know how much I'm going to try squeezing it with my hand. But, at a certain point, you could actually see, maybe I'm wrong on this, but it almost seemed like the avocado you've seen, I think what you've seen is that skin kind of tighten up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And the avocado kind of raise up. And then it said at the last 5 minutes to put the sliced cheddar cheese, which, given the size of the avocado to the sandwich cut sharp cheddar cheese.
Yes.
So I halved it, put it on, covered it back up for about 5 minutes, and it was done.
Yes. Yes.
And we'll get into the review, I think, at the end.
At the end, yeah, we always do that.
So now I guess on to the
ultimately, it was good.
Yeah. It was good. I mean, I'm not gonna say any more, man. We're holding out to the end. We got to keep them in suspense so they listen to the whole episode.
Or was it good? I don't know.
Oh. Have to listen in.
We'll find out. Yeah. Listen in. So, main course is our cheesy beer pit beef sandwiches, and that called for a 3 to 5 pound bottom round roast. And then for the rub for it is granulated garlic, dried rosemary, kosher salt, and black pepper. For the cheese sauce, required butter, flour, milk, stout beer, half a cup of that. And we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yep.
Kosher salt, black pepper, and shredded cheese. Shredded cheddar cheese. Yes. And pretzel buns, and we Matt and I, for our sandwiches, put some pickled jalapenos.
Which it did call for.
I did call for it.
Did call for it, but, not all those that were enjoying what we cooked appreciate the jalapeno.
Yes.
All right, so,
So we go to the butcher store.
Go to the butcher store.
Because I live about 10 minutes away from a butcher. And so instead of going to our local big grocery store, we go to the butcher and walk in, and we try to get as much as we can from there because you want to make all these stops around the town.
Well, not only that, we're also helping patronize. We got a lot of it. We have the onion. We even got the stout beer because it was, on the way to your house, I picked up a 12-pack, but it wasn't stout, so we had to pick up additional, and so we got as much as we could from the butcher shop.
Butcher shop.
Stop shop and roll. That works too, right?
Yeah.
Just to kind of support that local business, the big chain store.
Mm-hmm.
Not that we don't appreciate the big chain store.
Yes. Anywho, so we have our meat, we have everything, all our ingredients. We go to another store because we didn't get everything in there. We did have to go to somewhere else, but we had everything back at the house. We got the meat sitting out on the countertop, and we put the rub on there, which, again, is a teaspoon of granulated garlic, teaspoon of dried rosemary, a teaspoon of kosher salt, and a teaspoon of black pepper.
You can't get any easier than that.
Teaspoon,
right?
Yes.
I mean, a lot of times when you create a rub, what's the biggest thing? Half teaspoon of this, 2 tablespoons of that. And you got to look a lot. I mean, this was grab it out. You grab one measuring spoon and cut and dry.
Yep. So we get our meat all seasoned up. Meanwhile, you're inside getting everything else prepped. I go outside. I use my Weber Smoky Mountain 18-inch. Get that heated up. Get the fire going on that. And while that's heating up, come back in, and it's all seasoned, right?
So let's back up just a tad. Why did we go with the Smoky Mountain instead of like 22 or 26?
I just wanted to use it.
Well, that and not only that.
If we're going to be honest here,
it called for a temp of, they said 200 to 250, and they also called for a 3 to 5 pound round roast. Ours ended up being 5.5 pounds.
About 5.5. Yep.
So we knew we were going a little bit low
and slow, and that's the Smoky Mountain's main advantage.
It's its wheelhouse, man.
That's its wheelhouse.
That's where you want to be with that.
Exactly.
So it was a good choice, and we knew, although we could have all done it on one, we would have had to refire, right? Add more coals, but I think it was a good choice for that nice indirect as we want, because for those who don't know, you deal with like a bottom round. A lot of the times, that's a cut of meat that you cook for long periods of time.
Yep.
Right? It's not the most tender cut.
No, it's a thicker
cut.
Yeah.
So, which brings us to the next point, which it calls for you to cook it to. I mean, it's actually under rare at that point.
Yeah, it only calls it to be cooked to about 115 degrees internal temperature,
and then yank it and tent it.
Yep. Allow it to rest. At that point, and then you're going to make your cheese sauce. So while that's resting, we built our cheese sauce, which includes 3 tablespoons of butter, 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, 1 cup of milk. We went with 1%. Half a cup of the beer. And we'll talk about that very shortly. The 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, and what does that say?
Black pepper, and the cheese.
Looks like a half teaspoon of black pepper, and 3 cups of shredded cheddar.
So go a little deeper on building this. We get a saucepan. We melt the butter, our 3 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons of butter. Once that's melted, we added our 3 tablespoons of flour, and we kind of mix that around, kind of let that cook for a couple of minutes, creating that roux, that thickening agent. At that point, now we, for lack of, I don't know the word, we mixed our milk and our stout in the same measuring cup. The recipe said to add the milk first slowly, then the stout. We mix it all together just to prevent another dish for us to get yelled at laying out.
Yeah.
Which we did clean. So if they're listening after the fact, they can't yell at us.
We did good.
Yeah. So we slowly added. You kind of let that thicken up, and then that's when you added the cheese. And then, I mean, we ended up adding more salt and pepper, right? We kind of, to that was to taste.
Yep.
And actually, we added more beer because when it kind of thickened up and all the cheese, because you're doing a little bit at a time, mixing it, stirring it, letting it melt. It was, you lifted your spoon out of the saucepan, and it was stringy.
It was thick.
I mean, and those of you with children, a big fad for at least the last 5 years has been that slime.
Oh,
right,
yeah.
making slime or playing with this slime. So if you know what I'm talking about, it was like that. You picked your spoon up, and it was like that slime consistency.
Mm-hmm.
The flavor was all right.
Yeah.
But I'm like, this doesn't seem like something we want to put on. So we ended up add a little bit more beer, mix it, add a little more salt, pepper to taste.
Right.
The actual amount we used, I don't know, man. We're just kind of shaking it in there.
Yeah.
Right.
To taste.
So
Yep.
the most accurate measurement of how much beer we used of this Guinness, that's 11.2 fluid ounces or whatever.
Yes.
I took 3 decent-sized drinks of it, and it was done.
Sips or swigs?
Swigs.
3 swigs.
I'd say 2.5 to 3, because the last part was more of foam. So about 2.5. So, however you equate that, maybe you take the 2.5 swigs of the Guinness and dump the rest in while doing this recipe. I don't know. I don't know it the right way.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, maybe next time we just put the whole thing in there.
Pull the whole thing. But I like the consistency we had, though.
Okay.
I mean, maybe
more is not more. Okay.
More, maybe not more, unless we kind of let it go down. I thought it was a nice consistency. Like, we picked up with the spoon. You turn the spoon, and it would kind of glide off more like a sauce.
Yeah.
Than how we originally were with what the recipe called, where it was stringy and more like
goopy.
Goopy. Right, technical term.
Yes, goop.
All right.
Goops.
So we get that going. We have our meat out. It tells us then to get our temperature up to what was it, medium high?
High heat.
High heat.
Direct high.
So to break it down, right? So we used the Smoky Mountain at 250
and it
to
held
get
the whole
that.
time,
And it took us, now we were a little bit bigger, and we were a little under to begin with. It ended up being right the wheelhouse we wanted. It took a little bit longer. It's also not very nice yet.
It's still cool out.
We had our 1 week of summer, 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And now we're in the 30s.
We're in our third or fourth winter in Wisconsin.
Right. Summer's done. We're right back into winter.
So I had meanwhile, we're doing all this cook stuff, and meanwhile I'm like, you know what? Bonfire. So I lit the bonfire, little fire pit right next to us, and had that going.
It was nice. I mean, there's still kind of a breeze, but we stayed close enough between them all where it was bearable.
Yep.
At least it wasn't snowing or raining.
Yeah, it was dry. Unlike yesterday, did it hail?
Yeah, it's been crazy lately, but
I love this.
So at that point, we did the kind of low and slow to our 115 degrees on the Weber Smoky Mountain. Pull it, we tent it.
It's sitting there.
It's sitting there. It's in the house, just waiting for us to, as the recipe calls, sear.
Yeah. So meanwhile, you got the cheese going. Cheese ready to go. And
avocados is at this point, we were our timing, that the onion and the pepper, that was done. The bacon was done, cut up. It was a matter of just putting it on the grill. I think our timing with this was actually really good.
Yeah.
Our prep was done early. Doesn't really matter. I don't think it affected what the flavor would be, anything like that. So you ended up firing up the 26?
The Weber 26-inch grill.
Simply so we could have that room. Because, we're dealing with a 5.5 pound roast here.
It's a big one.
That's a big one. So the avocado called for direct heat, a little bit lower. Direct medium. And the meat called for direct high.
Yes.
But the meat called for, what was it, a minute or two per side?
Yes.
So we're
giving it a kiss.
Yeah, the avocado was calling for 25 minutes.
25, yeah.
So we got this bad boy roaring at about 400.
450, somewhere in there.
4, a little above.
We'll call it, split the difference, 4.25.
400. All right, 410 it is.
Son of a...
All right, so we put those avocados right on the heat. Let those go for probably 10 minutes, I think.
Mm.
Let's peek at it. Like I said, I noticed it like that shell or skin was kind of compressing. Avocado was kind of coming up. The outside was looking a little more charred. So at this point, I said, you know what, we're gonna take this off.
It was starting to blacken.
A little bit. Other thought was, okay, we're at 115 with our meat. They told us to yank it. We're tenting it. We're counting on it graining, 5 to 10 degrees temp?
Yeah.
At that point, we're at a medium rare.
Yep.
Before kissing it with some flame.
With the high heat.
Yep. And then knowing some that are going to eat, that might be a little too rare for them, right? We want to shoot.
That was a concern. Yeah.
Probably get us a little more towards that medium.
Yeah.
Not only that, with that rest 115, you're hoping a lot,
mm-hmm.
And it's a tough cut of meat. So we yank it at the 115, let it rest, get that fire going. It's like you said, as we've compromised. You said 450, I said 400. We compromise at 405.
Every time you say it's gonna be different.
It's gonna be different.
So
then
it's seared.
It's seared.
Seared.
So we go. I moved the avocado off.
It's got the cheese.
So we did not. So the butcher had this bad boy butcher twined. We left it as was.
Already trussled.
Whatever. I'm like, I can't redo this. Neither of us can. I mean, maybe you'll say you can, but we're probably not going to make it as pretty as it was.
Right.
With that, though, was some fat that maybe we would have trimmed off a little bit.
We kept it.
Totally
kept it. We didn't trim this at all.
So I'm like, you know what? We're going to do 3 minutes on the fat side.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Let that kind of render out, because we were lower heat.
Yeah.
Initially. So I did 3 minutes, flipped it over. Think I did about 2, and then I got it kind of was like a big flat end, right? And then it kind of tapered off at the other end. So I'm like, well, I'm going to put that big fat end. We're going to sear that. That's our thickest point anyways. If anything's going to be under, that's the point. So I did put that, tipped it on its end for about a minute. At that point, I mean, it looked beautiful.
Yeah. Exterior, I mean, the picture of that, it looked good. It smelled good. This thing looked perfect.
At that point, but while that was going on, I put the cheese on the avocado. So we're about 5, maybe 6 minutes in to our high heat sear on that meat, and we call it done.
Yep.
Right? We pull that inside. The cheese wasn't quite to that melted point of what we wanted it on the avocado, so I think we gave it another minute and a half, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yank that off. So one thing the recipe called for was what? With this meat?
Jalapenos.
Well yes. The main thing
you're looking at
the main thing when dealing with this cut of meat is jalapenos.
You want to focus on those penos, man.
Those were good. No, it was how we cut it.
I didn't know there was going to be a quiz.
Right? How we cut it. It called for us to thinly slice
it, yeah.
Yeah, and I believe it stayed because of the type of meat. This isn't that typical cut of meat that you're going to cut thick at a medium or medium rare like we did. It's a tougher cut.
Yeah.
So I believe it actually stayed in there, and it's upside down. Me reading already upright is,
thinly sliced.
Thinly
roast.
Sliced.
Yep.
So it was to thinly slice it to make it more tender.
Right.
And I think that came through.
The tenderness
came through as long as it was thinly sliced. I'm not cutting this either, man. So big the big All right, I apologize.
I don't know why you're laughing here.
Yeah, everybody else, if we rewind a little bit before the laughing, I'm sure you'll distinctly tell what we're laughing at. So with that, it was being thinly sliced. So, as we know, Jamie doesn't have a steak knife. So actually, I was sharpening his main butcher knife.
Thank you.
As we were going, because I thought it was a little bit dull. And I get the meat in, and I said, "What'd you do with it?" We threw it in the dishwasher.
I'm trying to clean,
we're cleaning
meanwhile as we go, because I'm like, there's stuff everywhere. The countertop is just littered with all kinds of measuring spoons, cups, you name it.
I'm just like, I'm not gonna. He's like, you can go get it. I'm like, no, it's not running. So I mean, pure laziness. I just grab whatever next biggest knife he has. Start slicing, and this actually developed a very nice crust on it. Right, so it actually was a little bit tougher to get that thin slice. Doing that,
well, the consistency, yeah,
the consistency of it, and it's a 5.5 pounds knife, not the sharpest. So we ended up, as it started out really good as far as my slicing, and just progressively got worse.
And that's okay.
It's all right.
You tried your best, buddy.
I did, but you could taste that, right? Because one of the first slices, you're like, "Ooh, is that underdone?"
It was juicy.
It was juicy. It was actually phenomenal. So, like, let's taste
amazing,
it.
Yeah.
Cut it in half. We each tasted it. We said, "That's it right there."
Amazing. Yeah.
That's it right there. So we put it together, right?
Built our sandwich.
Built our sandwich.
So this called for pretzel buns, which the store only had like 4 packs for like $5. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna get like one of them, and then I'll get the regular buns for like the kids,
the
and
other
whatnot,
people.
for
as long as me and you got the pretzel buns,
yeah.
Forget the rest.
Yeah, dream team here. So pretzel bun, you got some thick and or thin sliced meat.
Yes.
And then we got our cheese
sauce,
which we reheated because based on our timing, we reheated it. Drizzled that on, and finally to give that little chef's kiss, we put the jalapenos on there.
And I thought the jalapenos was a beautiful. I mean, obviously you had the pickledness of it, so you had that pickledness. Put that in the dictionary of actual terms. You had the acidity, right, from like the vinegar and everything, and then a little bit of heat. I thought that was nice to it.
Yeah.
I will say this, going back, and maybe I'm a little early, meat slicer would have been the way to go.
I think, all said and done, meat slicer to have your consistency of 1/8 inch, 16th inch thin slices of meat
as
versus
thin as you can go.
Yeah, because as you're biting through it, flavor is there. The way it looks, the picture, what's the word for that? The visual quality of it, there. Everything is there, except for it's harder to chew through some of the thicker slices because again, as you talked about already, it's a thicker cut of meat. It's a tougher
cut of meat.
Yes.
So the thinner you can get it, the more tender it was, and we cut against the grain, right? So we're helping ourselves there. But like I said, through going with that bark and everything, and just kind of fatigue on the hand of cutting through this 5.5 pound thing. Maybe I'm a wuss, but they start getting thicker. It's like some of the pieces I grabbed were a little bit tougher.
Mm-hmm.
The thinner ones, like we tasted, one of the first cuts was amazing.
And if you could have gotten that throughout, I'd say no changes as is.
No,
this was really good.
Meat flavor was great. But like we said, one thing you have to be mindful of if you want to do this recipe is either you gotta be on point with being able to slice by hand thinly.
Yes.
Whether it be through an electric knife, which you don't have steak knife, so I didn't even ask if you had an electric knife.
What kind of house do you think this is?
So, or an actual meat slicer, right? That would have gotten the consistency we wanted. Meat was amazing. Nice bark on it. Mm-hmm. If anything, I'd say, Graham, we were on the big side or over what they called for the amount of seasoning on the end. I would say maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right? We had the tablespoon of everything. I think we went a little bit thin. Teaspoon, sorry. Maybe we should have done 2 teaspoons of each.
Okay.
And then we would have been able to cover it a little more liberally.
Right.
Not saying that I felt it lacked any flavor. I mean, at the same point, you got that flavor of that meat itself, which was quite nice.
Mm-hmm.
Cheese sauce, right? So let's talk about that. So his recipe, I thought too thick. We thinned it out.
Too thick, and I don't know if it was just the cheese itself, but it was it didn't stand out.
I would agree. I mean, we added some more salt, some more pepper. It wasn't bad. The consistency it ended up being was decent, but it wasn't something that was like a showstopper.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't like, wow, this is amazing. Like it wasn't over the top, but it definitely helped, and it made it look good. And
but there again, are we nitpicking a little bit too much? Like when putting it with the meat in the sandwich, did it complement it well?
I think it did.
You know what I mean? Because are we discrediting this cheese sauce? Like we're not necessarily going to dip nachos, the tortilla chips in and eat as nachos.
So the whole recipe does call. I mean, it is called a cheesy beer pit beef sandwich. I think a good alternative would have been like what, au jus, maybe, or some other type of.
I mean, you could have done maybe a barbecue sauce or a pan sauce,
or if you have leftovers, maybe some. I'm gonna say it, some A1 steak sauce.
I mean, that would have done it too. The cheese I thought was nice. You're right; it wasn't earth shattering. Did it compliment? I mean, we still got that meat flavor, right? I mean, let's face it: the cheese is not your star of this dish.
No,
it's the meat.
It's the meat, yeah.
So
and the pretzel bun.
And the pretzel bun was nice. Complemented well with that pickled jalapeno.
Yeah,
I thought it was good. I liked it.
What would you give the? Let's start with the appetizer, our avocados.
Well, and going back to that, right? So we ate that, and I felt inconsistency of it. So one thing that we kind of mentioned.
What would you change?
What would I change is I would treat it more like a twice-baked potato. So what I'd do is I'd cut it in half, I'd pit it, and I'd probably remove all of the avocado itself, mash it up. Mm-hmm. And then I'd mix
everything together.
Now, he called for sliced onion and sliced pepper.
Yeah.
I think I would do like more of a finer dice on them.
Okay.
And then mix it in with the avocado. And then maybe instead of placing, and even that, and then placing the cheese at the end would probably be all right. Another thought would be almost like what you can do with like a twice-baked potato or a jalapeno popper of mix this like shredded cheese with that mixture, put it back in the shell.
Mix it all in
and do it. It was more of an inconsistency because you got your thick end thinner, you got a big bite, you scooped, and it was nothing but onion and pepper.
Right. That kind of reminded me of eating like the accessories to a fajita. Like why am I eating fajita toppings right now? This is weird.
I mean, all in all, I thought it was good. That would be the change I would do. Yeah. I would gut it, mix it all up, put the cheese on at the end. That's fine. Mm-hmm. But I just in smaller dice because we just slice it so everything wilted, right? Everything cooked down a bit, but you still had bigger pieces that were more in that cavity where the pit was.
Right. All right, so those are your changes for that.
That's my changes for that.
Meat slicer for the beef.
That's probably the biggest thing.
So, again, rating, what would you give the avocado?
Avocado.
As it stands.
Somebody
gave it to you, and you're like, this is good. I give it a...
You know what? Not earth-shattering. I'm going to say 5.
I'm going to give it a 5 or a 6.
Like, I'd do it again, but if I ordered it somewhere and they charged me $8 for it,
no,
I'd be disappointed.
I'm going to give you $2.
I'll be a little disappointed in it.
I'm going to say I lost my wallet. I'll be right back.
Yeah. No, I'm supposed to say I lost my wallet. I tell you I have to go to the bathroom and I leave, and then you're stuck with the bill.
I forgot my windows are open and it's raining out. I'll be right back.
Not that we'd ever do that. Joking,
obviously. That's messed up. The beef. You know what? That flavor of the beef itself was really good. A little bit tougher to judge given the inconsistencies of our cut. Yeah.
All in all, flavor, like, it's tough to rate 1 through 10. Like, as it stood, what would you pay for it?
As it stands, for a sandwich by itself, I'd pay $5.
All right.
If it was sliced better, thinly sliced, and perfect, I'd pay 12 to.
Yeah, I think at that point a little. Yeah, I think with the cut being right on the meat, I think you're in that $10 to $12 range. You learn to spice up that cheese, and all that.
Maybe go with a different cheese altogether.
Yeah, it has the meat flavor itself. Could bring in that $15 range for a sandwich.
Yeah.
Right, or as we put it 1 through 10, because obviously things that cost, we're talking what costs here compared to other places. Like, $15 for a sandwich is cheap,
right?
Or $5 is expensive.
Midwest dollars. Yeah, I mean, if I was served that sandwich, thick, thin, all different cuts of beef on there, I would be a little disappointed, and I don't know, I wouldn't be able to finish the sandwich.
No, it's a little bit tough with those thicker cuts.
Yeah.
The thin one's beautiful. You even that out to 1/8 inch or even thinner.
Mm-hmm.
Think of like Arby's roast beef, just almost paper thin.
Right.
I mean, that thing's gonna be amazing.
Oh yeah.
Sauce, I don't know. The meat itself was a star. With beautiful flavor, cheese sauce. Maybe do something else with it.
Yeah.
All in all, not a bad sandwich. I mean, would I eat it if someone put it in front of me? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Would I go back to a place for it?
No.
No.
And would you recommend it to other people? No.
I mean,
Maybe not.
to go out and eat, to go and make at home. Like I said, if you're going to do it, meat slicer, you want to do the cheese sauce, taste it, right?
How much does a meat slicer cost?
Oh, I think you can
Over
get
100?
No, I think you can get them under $100.
Okay.
Right? I mean, if you're not using it all that much,
I'm just
you
thinking
don't
of like
need to get a mass. It's super expensive.
I'm just thinking of like adding stuff to my Amazon
Yeah.
shopping cart. Steak knives, meat slicer.
Ah, man, I had another
What else
thought
do I
on
need?
this. I had another good thought, and you brought up like how much did it cost?
Yeah.
This is gonna kill me because now it just blanked out.
Costing in terms of what though?
I don't even remember what I was
beef?
thinking. No, beef was great. The beef was good. We're talking
The panos?
panos were good. Cheese sauce.
What are you getting at?
Oh, the cheese sauce. There's a lot, right? What the recipe called for was, I mean, you could have
probably 4 times as much as what we actually
yeah.
used.
I would say you could cut that down by, you could quarter that and probably still have left over.
Yeah.
And that's with a nice couple spoonfuls where it's kind of dripping out of the sandwich.
I mean, did it cost a lot of money? No. So we're
No.
not down a lot of money.
No, weren't down a lot, but there's a lot of waste.
Overall
We could have
total cost for the meal. I don't think we've ever said this, but I think what, $80
Yeah, well, I mean, the meat went to
with
the butcher.
with beer.
Well, we got beer, yeah,
$80 with beer.
ish. Well, I mean, the meat itself, the 5.5 from the butcher was about $40.
Yeah.
Oh
no, $60.
$60.
$60.
You'd say in all?
My mistake. Yeah.
Yeah,
$60.
I mean, because
total.
remember, I bought some beef sticks, so I mean, we can't
Yeah.
put that like
different.
$15 in there.
Yeah.
And we went to the store, the cheese, right? The sliced cheese.
Get some sales.
That was $1.99. It called for the 3 cups of the shredded cheddar. We got regular bags like 2 cups. That was $1.99 on sale. 2 of them, and we left with the buns with the pretzel buns at $5, and the other buns. I think the total bill was like $22.
Yeah.
So 40. So yeah, about 60, $65.
$65 to feed us 4 and 2 of my kids.
Yeah.
So
And there was plenty more.
and there was plenty,
It's just-
way more meat than
yeah.
than we could have. Yeah. So we could have probably had a dinner party of me, your wife, my wife, 2 others.
Yeah.
We'd all be good.
Yep. Main thing, I think this would have, our thoughts would be a lot higher had we been able to slice that meat thin.
Meat slicer and get a different cheese.
Well, right. I mean, it was all sharp cheddar or medium cheddar we did.
Mhm.
Maybe try something else. Maybe some different seasonings other than some salt and pepper to kick it up a notch.
Yeah.
Experiment.
I'm glad we did it. So again, big shout out to Mike Lang. One Beer Grilling is the name of the book, and I'm going to put that on the website. Yes, the website needs some recipes on there. Yes, I'm going to do it, man.
But you did though.
I did put 1 or 2 on there, but we're up to how many recipes now?
I think you're through episode 4.
Episode 4.
So, like we mentioned last week, in case you missed it, it is now shadetreechefs.com. We have updated and still behind a little bit, but recipes are up there of what we've done. So you can go find the recipes, how we cooked it. Obviously, like on this one, if we give him his credit, and what we did.
I'm going to put a link to the book on there. At the very least, it's just going to be the URL for the book, so you can buy the book and you can find the recipe in there.
Now and there's some nice looking stuff in there.
There is. I made a couple other things in there. There's some good stuff.
I will say though, click our link, right? Because if you click our link and buy it through our link, we can get a little bit of cut of that, help pay for our $60 meal, let alone our cost for everything else to do this podcast.
My steak knives,
my
meat slicer I got to get.
Well,
apparently.
I mean, guys, I'm not listeners. I'm not asking you to furnish him his house, with stuff. We'll be happy just to pay our costs to publish and maybe the website. I keep telling them you can't go out and buy steak knives because eventually you or your wife are going to have a birthday or something, and I know what I'm going to get you. It's steak knives.
Oh, man.
And I'm not doing it early, man. You just got to fight through it till you're September?
I think that about wraps it up. I think we've talked about everything we need to talk about. Yeah, I'm Jamie.
We are.
Well, go to our website, shadetreechefs.com. We're on Facebook.
Instagram.
We're on Instagram. We are on TikTok.
We didn't take any videos, though, this week.
We can make some videos.
Oh, well.
Maybe like us doing exercises or something cool.
Something cool.
You'll see it. Well, if there's anything you want to see or you want to talk to us, reach out to us. shadetreechefs@gmail.com.
shadetreechefs@gmail.com.
I'm Jamie.
I'm Matt.
And we are Shade Tree Chefs.